As they say in the news business, if it bleeds, it leads. So it's very difficult to find people who go out of their way to look for positive stories, stories that aren't necessarily negative stories about what's happening in society. And one of the people that are doing that and doing it very well is Mpho Lakaje. He has a show on ENCA called Against All Odds. Mpho, hello.
Hi, Xolani.
Are you well?
I'm good.
I'm good. Against All Odds, what is it about?
Well, Against All Odds is a weekly show that profiles ordinary people who go through devastating circumstances, and they go on to achieve big things in life. Sometimes it's just ordinary people who challenge conventional thinking to achieve extraordinary success. That's what the show is all about. We're trying to to inspire the nation.
But how difficult is it to find those people? How difficult is it to locate those people?
It's interesting because it's not that difficult. Initially, of course, it was. When the show started, we battled a lot. But now that the show is on air and we're getting a lot of people calling us, sending us emails, and also, obviously I'm working with a team of very passionate journalists. So, we all go out there to find stories. But I would say that people, South Africans who want to make a difference are out there, and the more we do the story, the more we do the shows, the more we meet these people.
But how does it square up again with the mantra that I just mentioned now? If it bleeds, it leads. People are always chasing ambulances, so to speak. You want to count the bodies. Here you are looking for the positive element in a story.
Well, I think, let me just give you a bit of background. I've been a journalist for about 7 to 8 years. I've been very fortunate to work for stations like Talk Radio 702, BBC World Service, and I've been traveling extensively. One of the things that happened is that whenever I went out there to do stories about poor service delivery, the usual social ills, crime, I always met very inspiring South Africans, people who are committed to making a difference. And I thought to myself, if we've got such people and you don't see these people on television and you don't hear about them on the radio, why don't we create a show that showcases such people? So that's what it is, and also as a journalist you have to approach those stories with the right attitude. If you're going to say, well, positive stories are not selling, of course, the story is not going to be interesting. But if you say, hey, this is a news story like any other, the principles are the same, then the story should be interesting.
Does it affect you personally? Do you feel that as an individual as well, you're affected by some of the stories that you cover?
Absolutely. One of the things that I've learned, I've been doing the show for about a year now. One of the things I've learned, Xolani, is that, when a human spirit is searching for its place, it will never be stopped by anything. And that's one of the things, really, the profound things that I've seen in most of the people that we interview. They really want this thing. I've interviewed, let me give you an example, a guy who lost both his legs and an arm in a freak train accident in KwaZulu-Natal. He went on to become South Africa's #1 wheelchair tennis player. Now, how did that happen? That person, the spirit was searching for its place. He was never going to be stopped.
I suppose same principles for business,
Absolutely.
If you're not driven, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, unlikely to succeed.
It's not going to succeed. News, like any other product, is about packaging. If you package your story properly, if you really give yourself time to make sure that it's got all the elements, then it should do well. I always say to my team that if we want the stories to touch the people out there, we have to really make an effort, make sure that you are happy. You have to leave the office feeling like, yes, I've done what I had to do.
But also there possibly is a lot of thinking that goes into it, because one of the complaints over and again is that society is misrepresented by negative stories, and that if you want to represent society and represent it fairly, go out there and look for what people are doing, both positive and negative, but do not misrepresent society.
Absolutely. I remember a colleague saying that, but if we focus on the positive that's happening, we're not being realistic. And my argument was, the thing is that if we focus mainly on the negative, then it's not like we're striking that balance. You know, if you want to balance, you have to show everything that's happening. Of course, living in a country where only 4 out of 10 people are employed, you cannot shy away from those stories. You have to tell the negative stories. But at the same time, if you live in a country where you've got a guy called Ronald Bounce in Cape Town who has started an organization that goes out there to find unemployed people, train them and put them in workplaces without charging them a cent, then you know that while we've got unemployment, we've got people who are working to make sure that we get solutions to our
It's an interesting story. Just tell me a little bit. So,
yes, well, a guy called Ronald Bounce, he started an organization called Dream Worker in Cape Town. What Ronald does is that he goes out there, he searches for people who are unemployed. I'm talking not necessarily people who've got qualifications. I'm talking about those people who don't stand a chance. He would take those people to his office and then give them the most basic of all trainings. He would give them things like how to conduct yourself at the workplace, how to dress, how to talk to people, how to answer calls, that type of thing. And then if you need a driver's license, he would do that kind of thing for you. Interestingly, he doesn't charge a cent. He doesn't charge the companies that he gives these people to. He doesn't charge the people. So he does it relying on donations from any company that's interested in making a difference. So it's that kind of thing. I mean, that's one of the stories that made me realize that there's a need to create a platform that a platform for such people.
And your show has been so successful that the industry has even rewarded you.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, look, I was humbled. We all were, we went to London in 2012. We were invited, and we competed against the BBC World Service. We competed against the Voice of America and several other big organizations from Japan, Bosnia, and other parts of the world. And when we won that award, it was unbelievable. But also for me, it showed that if you've good news is news. It sells. If bad news sells, good news should sell, because it's about how you approach it, really. But also it reminded me of what Steve Jobs once said, that if you start you can start your own things that other people can use, and once you know this, you will never be the same again. And let me tell you, Xolani, when we flew from London to South Africa, I wasn't the same. I could see that you can start something. You can start something like a good news show and go all the way to win a global award. Anything is possible, really.
Well done to you, Mpho.
Thank you so much.